Good afternoon, I'm Lucrezia Milarini. The new Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has made ending pandemic restrictions his top priority as he begins the role. The former Chancellor has taken over from Matt Hancock, who resigned yesterday for breaching social distancing guidelines. But ministers' attempts to move on from days of negative headlines were rejected by political opponents as Labour called for the police to investigate Mr Hancock's actions. Our political reporter Shihab Khan has the latest.
After a turbulent few days, it is Sajid Javid who's been chosen by the Prime Minister to steady the ship. The former Chancellor and Home Secretary is now the Health Secretary, and this morning had one clear priority.
We are still in a pandemic, and I want to see that come to an end as soon as possible, and that will be my most immediate priority, to see that we can return to normal as soon and as quickly as possible.
He replaces Matt Hancock, who resigned after The Sun revealed he had an affair with one of his aides during the pandemic. The Department of Health has now launched an investigation into how CCTV from inside his office was leaked to the paper. Labour want a police investigation about whether Mr Hancock broke the law by hiring the aide. And they've questioned the Prime Minister, who didn't sack him and said the matter was closed.
He should have gone on Friday and the Prime Minister should have sacked him. And these are the difficult decisions of leadership. And I'm afraid it feels to me like the Prime Minister has a very dangerous blind spot when it comes to issues of integrity and conduct in public life.
This senior Conservative backbencher, who has worked closely with Mr Javid and even went to university with him, thinks the Prime Minister has made the right call to move on from this.
The previous Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, did the right thing by falling on his sword. He was judged to have broken the rules. He acknowledged that himself. I think the Prime Minister has made a thoughtful and inspirational choice in appointing Sajid Javid. He's got a lot of experience in government. He knows how to run organisations and he has a passion for the public sector.
The Prime Minister will hope that after this challenging period, his former Chancellor will help guide the country out of the pandemic without any controversies.
So, Shihab, does Mr Javid's appointment bring the saga of the past few days to an end now?
Well, the Prime Minister and Number 10 will certainly hope so. I've been speaking to several people in Westminster, and the one reoccurring theme is that most people think Sajid Javid is a safe pair of hands. This is a man who was Home Secretary, a man who was Chancellor. This is someone that they are hoping, like I said in that report, to steady the ship. But not everyone thinks that. We've had some criticism of the appointment from someone who's become probably the Prime Minister's most critical person, and that is Dominic Cummings, his former chief advisor. He was suggesting that he didn't think that Sajid Javid was a very good Chancellor. What is very clear is that it's been a turbulent few days for the government, and they will hope, as you've said, that this is it. This is the final thing that steadies the ship and we can move on from this and stop talking about it.
All right, Shihab, thank you. A fifth body has been recovered after the collapse of a 12-storey apartment block in Florida 3 days ago. More than 150 people are still unaccounted for. Rescue teams have been using drones to look for survivors. Back here, a man in his 20s has been shot dead by police in Milton Keynes. They were called out to a serious disturbance at a property yesterday morning where they discovered the body of a man in his 30s and a child with serious injuries. Unclassified military documents containing details about HMS Defender have been found at a bus stop in Kent by a member of the public. The Ministry of Defence has launched an investigation. Sport now. Max Verstappen has extended his championship lead over Lewis Hamilton after today's Styrian Grand Prix in Austria. Verstappen led from the start and was so far ahead by the end that Lewis Hamilton concentrated on trying to set the fastest lap rather than winning the race. Chris Scudder was watching.
He is the most successful Formula One driver of all time, but suddenly Lewis Hamilton has a rival in a faster car. Max Verstappen's Red Bull was on pole position in Austria, and there was nothing Hamilton could do to get past him. The young Dutchman was off to a flyer, and within a few laps had already opened up a 3-second lead over Hamilton's Mercedes, which has been the fastest machine for years. Split seconds lost in the gravel didn't help the struggle to catch up. And for once this season, pit stop strategy did not decide the race. One stop each, but Hamilton's Mercedes just didn't have the speed of his rival.
What should I do? I can't close that gap.
He couldn't close the gap, and by the finish, Verstappen was a huge 35 seconds clear. The Dutchman's third victory in 4 races. He's already pulling away at the top of the drivers' standings, and Hamilton knows there's a real battle ahead if he's to win an outright record 8th World Drivers' title. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
England's women's cricket team are in action right now in a one-day international against India at the county ground in Bristol. The tourists were put into bat and made 201 in their 50 overs. India's captain Mithali Raj top scored with 72 before she was bowled by Sophie Eccleston. In reply, a short time ago, England were 84 for 2 after 16 overs. Football, and 4 more nations will seek to reach the quarter-finals of the European Championships later today. The Netherlands play the Czech Republic in Budapest with kick-off at 5 o'clock. Then Belgium play Portugal at 8, and you can see both matches right here on ITV and STV. That's it. I'm back with the late news after tonight's football at 10:20. Until then, enjoy your afternoon.